In this lecture, we are going to talk about factor by grouping. We have two examples. For the first one, we have 10x squared plus 9x plus 2. We need to figure out the factoring of this polynomial. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a, which is 10, and c, which is 2, and multiply that, and we get 20. Now the factors of 20 are 1 and 20, 2 and 10, and 4 and 5. Well, you need to ask yourself, which set of factors combine to get 9? Well, the answer is going to be 4 and 5. So you're going to rewrite your polynomial as 10x squared plus 4x plus 5x plus 2. Notice that when you combine the 4x plus 5x, you get 9x. Now, we are going to make groups. So we have this first one with the first two terms, and the second group with the second two terms. The next thing we need to do is factor out the GCF of each set of groups. So what goes into 10 and 4? Well, that's going to be 2. So I'm going to pull out a 2. And we have 2 x's here and 1 x here, so I can pull out an x. Now, what's left over? Well, 2 times 5 is 10. And I started with 2 x's and I pulled out 1, so I have 1 left. My plus sign comes down. 2 times 2 is going to be 4. And I pulled out the x, so I have none left over. Now let's talk about the second group. I have 5 and 2. Nothing combines together, so I'm just going to pull out a 1. Only the 5 has an x. The 2 doesn't, so I can't pull out an x. So I'm left with 5x plus 2. Now I want you to notice that the stuff inside the parentheses is the same. For factor by grouping to work, the terms inside the parentheses have to be the same. So the last thing that we're going to do is we are going to pull what we pulled out, and we're going to put that together, and then we're going to bring out a 5x plus 2. This is going to be my answer. Now let's take a look at the second example. When you see something like this with 4 terms, you're just going to go ahead and group it together, the first 2 together and the second 2 together. And then we're going to go ahead and factor using GCF for both groups. So here we have a 1 and a 7. There's nothing that goes into that, so I'm just going to pull out a 1. Now I have 3 x's here and 2 here. Well, 2 of them match up. Now I got to figure out what's left. I started with 3 x's here and I pulled out 2, so I'm left with 1. And then over here, I didn't pull out the 7, so that stays. I pulled out 2 x's, so I have no x's left. Now for the second group, I have 2 and 14. Well, 2 goes into both of those, 2 and 14. The 2 has an x, the 14 does not, so I can't pull out any x's because they don't match. Now I figure out what's left over. I didn't pull out the x, so that stays there. I bring down the plus sign, and 2 times 7 is going to be 14. Now notice that the stuff inside the parentheses is the same. So now I need to group my GCFs together so I can put x squared plus 2. And then my common terms, which are x plus 7. And this is my answer for the second example for factor by grouping.